So welcome to this 12th, and I'm afraid it will be the last class. I hope you have enjoyed the program and that it has served to help you to learn something about these topics. In this last class, we are going to speak about the importance of healthy and varied relationships in personality development. As we have seen in the other class, probably you have already watched the registration of my classes in Retamar. So I was thinking, what can I speak about in this class? And I thought that as a year, a little bit more after the class, the father wrote a letter, an important letter for us, about friendship. Perhaps we can deepen on friendship, but specifically friendship in the work, friendship between members of the work. And I apologize because I know that there is different people here. I am going to speak mainly for numeraries and associates. I think mutatis mutandis will also say things that would be useful for supernumeraries or for people who are not in the work. But I think that some clarification on the concept, on the human concept of friendship can be useful for us to understand better the letter of the father, which will help us to live what the father asks for every people in the work, and for living also better our relationship with other people. Perhaps we can do a comparison with friendship and work. Every one of us work, and work has, we can say, its own nature, its own human nature that has to be respected, both to work well and to take use of that work for doing a lot of good things, earning money, doing apostolate, and so on. Imagine that you try to leave the work only addressed to in money. There will be a lot of things, good things in the work that will be lost. Probably also a lot of human things, production, and so on. If you use the work only for doing apostolate, work itself will suffer. It will be a disorder because we would not respect the autonomy of human realities that is encouraged, as example, by Gaudium et Spes in Second Vatican Council. I think it happens something similar with friendship. Friendship is a great human reality, but it has its own rules, its own nature that has to be respected in order to not to misuse it, not to denaturate it, and not to make other things, other good things, to suffer. I think we will see this idea clearly when we go ahead in our presentation. Okay, so let's begin. A few weeks ago, we read in the first reading, I think it was 3-4 Sundays ago, the creation of Eve. And the narration of the Bible, of the Genesis, says that God took into account that it is not good for man to be alone. So he created Eve. And then we can ask, okay, that's very good for speaking to to people of San Rafael, to finances, and so on. But we can ask ourselves, what about numeraries and associates? What about priests, diocesan priests? What about people who live in celibacy? Is it good for them to live alone, to be alone? Or are they living in a state that by its own nature is bad for them? Remember, and it was very repeated, I think, in my classes, in the classes that you have watched, that we all need people married, people who live in celibacy, people who live in the centers with other people, and people who live in their own houses, like associates do, and so many other people. All of us need loving other people and feeling loved. Remember that the dyad is not loving and being loved, but feeling loved. We need to feel love from a subjective point of view. It is not enough to know that I am loved. Okay, so how can a numerary and associate any celibate person be fulfilled, feel fulfilled this necessity? I have put in that link to my Dropbox that you have seen here at the beginning of the presentation, bit.ly HATP 2021, have put, apart from this very presentation in PowerPoint, have also uploaded this chapter of a book that we published in our university between different teachers from Santa Croce and also from other university. And the title of this chapter, I think, is very subjective, is very interesting for us. And also it can help for this presentation, the value of friendship in celibate life. It is written by a Franciscan, and he says, this is he, we became friends thanks to this conference that he spoke in Santa Croce. So he says that for a celibate person, sexual abstinence can sometimes be hard. And perhaps in the beginning of our vocation, many of us felt that the sexual abstinence would be the most difficult thing for us. Instead, he says, and I think that those who have lived for a lot of time in our vocation and perhaps passions have calmed down, that we have noticed what he said, that the real sacrifice is that of intimacy, that the real sacrifice is to have something with which share our life, our preoccupations, a project of what I can do, or somebody with which I am going to grow and get old. Somebody with which, when I arrive home, I can speak to him or her and open my heart freely. So he says, the real sacrifice is that of intimacy, where I open myself to the other without losing my identity. And he points, for the celibate person, friendship is the most suitable way to live this out. I recommend you to download and to read calmly this article because it has been very useful for a lot of people, men, women, priests, laymen, and so on, although it is written in a conference that we organize for seminary formators, but it is easy. You only have to change the word seminarian for numerary or associate and the word seminary for center in the work. So I think you remember these slides. They have been taken directly from the slides that probably you have already watched recently. There are three types of relationships: family, work, friends. Here are the characteristics of the family, and now we are speaking specifically on our supernatural family, irreversible ties, where we're brothers in the world for all our lives. We have not chosen them. We have not chosen who is the people who live within the center, who's the people who are in my group, in the case of supernumeraries, of associates, who are the people who are going together to the get-together, to the workshop, to the annual course, and so on. They come to me. I cannot do anything for them, but they have to accept them in an unconditional way. They are all my brothers, and they will be always there. I wish it will be, as I wish it will be in our own natural families. We have to live close together, closer if we live in the center, if we are numeraries, but also we have to live close during workshop, during another course, in the family life, even you are associates or supernumeraries. And there is an affinity that changes from one to the other. They are all my brothers, but they are very different, one the other, and they are very different from me. And as in the families, we have to love our brothers with the defects, and we have to love the defects of our brothers. I think the comparison with a family, with what we repeat so many times to the supernumeraries and to the cooperators, can be very useful, first of all, for our own family life, because sometimes we have to speak to a supernumerary, to a married man. He tells us that he has problems with his wife, and we say, okay, be patient, and you have to speak to her, and you have to hear her, and you have not to respond so quickly, and so on, but stay with her. But what happens when someone in my center is a little not so kind, and it is difficult for me to live with him? And it is difficult for me to spend a few weeks in the workshop, in the annual course. No, then I will ask a change of my center. I will ask the Bocados and Michael and Gabriel to go to another annual course, to go to another center and change. So you are asking for you a different thing from what you are telling the supernumerary. You don't tell the supernumerary to say, okay, you cannot live with your wife, so let her go to another house and find another woman. No, it is absurd. So I think knowing family life, the difficulties of family life in supernumeraries in our own brothers and sisters can help us a lot for living better our family life. Okay, then we have work. A common enterprise, cooperation, relationship are not chosen. It's a natural place for friendship to arise. We have to respect diversity. And here I have added, I think I won't speak practically about that, but there is another point that has arisen many times in the classes I have given in these 2.5 years that has passed from the classes at Retamar. What about the relationship between celibate men and the women they meet in their work and their social life and so on? Is it possible to have a real friendship between men and women, even if we live in celibacy? I will say a couple words about that. And perhaps in the time for the questions, we can deepen if you want. Okay, but let's go ahead by the moment. And then we have friendship. I have changed this slide because I wanted to deepen on the natural concept of friendship so as to see how can we live friendship in family life. Friendship is born when we have something to share. When I see that I have something special to speak to the other, it is not, the friend is not one between all of them, but it is someone with which I have something special. And also not from the point of view of the theory, that many times it is the beginning point for friendship. We like the same football team, we like literature, we like cinema, we have hobbies, we are from the same city and so on. But mainly this material thing that we share awakes an emotional link. That is very well described by C.S. Lewis in The Four Loves. Friendship arrives out of mere companionship, and I underline this because mere companionship can be also our life in the center. The difference between the people with which I live, with which I am friend, and with which I am brother, and a real friend. Friendship arises out of mere companionship when two or more of the companions, of the brothers, discover that they have in common some insight or interest, or even taste which the others do not share, and which, till the moment, is believed to be his own unique treasure or burden. The typical expression to initiate a friendship can be something like this: what you two? I thought I was the only one. So in friendship, it happens something like getting in love, discovering that I feel very good with that person, that I thought he was a colleague, a companion, a brother, but now I noticed that there is something more. I underline something more. From an objective point of view, we like the same thing, and from a subjective point of view, we like a lot of things. We feel better when we are together. In that sense, the four loves, here they are affection. And he says that affection, which is a very important kind of love, is that which is given in family. And he says it is different from philia, from friendship, different from eros, from love in marriage, and from agape, which is the supernatural love. So I say it's because the father said that friendship should be linked with brotherhood should be linked with friendship, but I think it is not automatic, and it cannot be given per discount that for the very fact of being brothers, of living in the same center, of having the same vocation, we are friends. They are different things. Okay, we will depend more. So there is a space to share intimacy. And this is very important, because if we are saying that we have to be friends, that it is good for us to be friends in family life, we have to share intimacy. And it has its risks, because perhaps they can share things that can be too intimate to share with a brother, and one can see, well, it is something better to share with a spiritual director and so on. Okay, but if people do not share intimacy, they won't be real friends. And that's very important. We cannot have a double language. We cannot say, no, we have to be friends, but we cannot share intimacy, and we cannot spend time together, because it would be absurd. It would be using the concept, the very important concept of friendship, which has its own nature, for fostering brotherhood. And it would be using wrongly a very good concept, but without having in mind its own nature. So it would be denaturated, and then it will suffer. Probably both of them will suffer, friendship and brotherhood. Okay. Friendship is double sense. It has to be accepted by the other. I cannot say I am friend of this if that other person does not feel himself as a friend of mine. And I cannot force it. It has to wake like getting in love, we have said. I can be in the place and I can treat the other people as many people do to get in love of other people. They treat the other, and to get the other to get in love of him. One who is in love of a girl and wants the girl to be in love with her. That what can do is treating that girl. But he cannot force the other. It is a feeling that has to awake by itself. So I cannot force myself to have friends. I have to do an effort. No. Relax. Put yourself in the position, in the situation of feeling that getting in love of that people. Treat him, speak with him, go to enjoy with him. Open your heart so as to show so many things that you can share with him. Your affections, your hobbies, your intellectual worries, and so on. And perhaps he will say, okay, I catch it. I have already this. And then he perhaps can feel that something awakes, as we have read in that quote of C.S. Lewis. If it is not in use, it gets atrophied when we go to another house, center, city, country, and so on. And if we do not treat the other, so friendship dies. It requires, and it is very important, in my opinion, it requires a reasonable parity, mainly in the age. The normal thing is that people are friends of other people more or less in their range of age. If some people say, if I am 46, if I say, no, my best friend is a 20 years old man. Okay, it can be, but there is a great disparity between that. And if I say, no, my best friend is 80 years old, well, something is strange. He can be friend, but the closest friendship, because when we have more things to share, when our operative system in our minds is more similar, and then it is easier as to be friends, is between people in our ages, which is another difficulty in our centers, in the work, because we have people of so many different ages. And it is very difficult for a 20 years old people in the work to be real friend of a 60-year-old people in his center. They can have a very, very kind and nice relationship. Can be their friends, perhaps yes, but it will be much more difficult for them to become really friends. Okay, let's go ahead. And then friendship is found. It can be found in the family, in the work, in the professional work, in social activities, and so on. But it is not automatic. You cannot say, I am friend of all the people I work with. You cannot say, I am friend of all the people with which I do sport. So it is not automatic to say, I am friend of all the people in my center. It is not given per discount. I usually say I have three male brothers, and I am not friend of all of them. I love them, all of them, very much. and I pray for them every day. And if they have a problem, I try to be with them, and I try to do my best to help them to solve it. But I am really friend of one of the three, and with one of them, we are so different that I would lie if I say that we are friends. But we speak and we enjoy, and we call each other every month or every 2 months, and we speak and so on. But we don't have that sparkle of friendship. Okay, let's go ahead. What's the problem in the work? That sometimes we have spoken about these three dimensions: work, family, friendship, and sometimes we find ourselves that our ambient is like this, that we have many people who work in a internal work, who dedicates professionally to the center, and so his profession is the family, and he has to find friends in that atmosphere. So there can be a confusion of roles, which is not good. When all three dimensions are so close as we see here, it is not common, but sometimes we can see it. It is not a good thing. I think this is the best scenario that we can find, that we have our work that can overlap with the family, internal jobs. Some people have a family business and so on, and friendship. So we can have friends that are part of the family and with which I work. But it is always good to have 3 areas for human development. Sometimes it cannot be done. Okay, but it is good in these cases to know, to be conscious that it is a somewhat, how could I say it, that it is not the best. And okay, and we can survive, and we can be happy, and we can be holy, and so on. But it is not the best scenario from a human point of view. Sometimes we cannot do anything. As example, if I work in my family business, so they will be very, very tight and cannot do anything. But there is always a thing that I can do so as to decrease that natural disbalance, which is getting friends here, out of family, out of work. It opens a lot our mind. It opens a lot our, it helps us to relax, to, okay. When I speak to about work in the life of people in Opus Dei, I also include people who comes to the apostolic work. So I am saying that it is good for all of us to have friends out of the family, out of Opus Dei, and out of the apostolic work. Not so as to catch them and bring them to family or to apostolic work. It would be to denaturalize friendship. No, I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking that we need friends out of the walls of the center, because it will help us to develop our personality, and then we will be happier in the apostolic work, probably in the professional work, and also in the family life. It is not an extra that I can choose or not. It is a psychological necessity. It is not a strategy to increase the people we take contact with for apostolical reasons. No. It is looking for ourselves. If one person gets close to one only atmosphere. And I am not only speaking, I'm not criticizing what happens. Okay, it can happen sometimes, but it is easy that somebody who is closed in his ambient, natural, supernatural, blood family, and so on, that he becomes a little real, manias in his personality, that he gets a little childlike, I don't know how I could say in English, and sometimes when he realizes that that psychological necessity has not been accomplished, he can develop a resentment against the family, against the institution, against the directors, and so on. So to prevent, we have to do sometimes an effort because time is always limited, but it is good for us and it will have good consequences for enjoying more the family life and the apostolic work. So here we see again that film, My Wife, My Boss. We can go ahead. Okay, so some objections that I have found. I have spoken about these ideas in different places with men, women, and so on, because as I am a priest, I can speak also to numerary women. And I have found some objections to the reasoning I have done till now. Someone told me, but okay, you have begun with that idea of intimacy by Father Fagioni, but I think that intimacy can be covered by the chat. And it is real. I open my heart to the chat, but it is not enough. Because the chat is not a parital and a relationship between equals. The people who receive my chat is in some way up from me, even if he is younger, because it is me who speak to him, but he doesn't speak to me, only for giving me advices, but he does not open his heart to me. So it is not an equal interaction. And the second reason, because the chat is something that we can call institutional, in the sense that I go to the person once a week, I speak, and then we say, okay, his advice is Pax in Eternum, we go away, and close. And I can go to him as often as I can, but it is a closed ambient, an institutionalized ambient. So it is so different from having a beer with a friend in a bar, because I have called him and we exchange our ideas. I think it is very clear. The second idea I received is that friendship is a continuum. I have said sometimes in this chat that friendship is not the same as brotherhood. But when people told me, okay, but you can be very friend of some people, and you can be not so much friend of some other ones. There is a continuum, there is a line. Okay, I agree. But there are people also that I only know them. And I say that I work with them, I do a sport with them and so on, and they are not friends. They are only known people I meet sometimes. Even I meet them often, but there is not that sparkle that makes me say really, I am his friend. So this one that gave me this suggestion wanted to say, it is not that you are not friend of every people in your center. It is that in that continuum, there is people with which you are very friend and people with which you are less friend. And I say, okay, but there is people with which you are so less friend that you can say that you are not friend, as out of our family in Opus Dei. Okay, we could deepen during the time of the questions. This one is in the same line of this one, but I think it is more dangerous because it is from a philosopher, so a very deep person. And he told me, no, I think that friendship is an analogic term. So you can predicate, he as philosopher said, you can speak about friendship between people of Opus Dei in a different way in which we speak about friendship with the people you are in your work, in your sports, and so on. And I think it is very, very dangerous because he didn't mean it, but really he meant that what the father was saying was not be friends between you, people of Opus Dei, in the same way that you are friends with the people you go to have a beer, to do sports, and so on. This critic said the father did not. I mean, the father did that. We have to be as friends with our brothers as we are with the other people. In well, sometimes something can be different, but in the same way. I love them. I have something to share. I open my heart. I share intimacy and so on. Otherwise, we are using a double speak, and it is very dangerous, and I prefer to avoid it. And I think it is not what the father meant. And I think that it has been confirmed in the get-togethers and so many times that the father and other people in the General Council has spoken about this. Okay, this is an idea that I listened once in a meditation. The meditation was about fraternity. And the preacher said, if you are not friend of everyone in your center, you have a problem. So yes, as it was a meditation, I had to be calmed. But after that, it was during another course, I was invited to give a speech about friendship. And I said, the director who invited me to do this speech, I said, okay, I cannot speak about friendship, because if I do, I would have to go directly against this idea that he said in the meditation, because I am not friend of every people in my center. In that moment, I was living in a very big center in Cababianca. With 120 people, 30 people in my group. Many of them people were very younger than me. Some of them were older, and others were so different. So I was friends, yes, with some of them, but not with all of them. I wish I were friend of all the people in the center, in the work, in the world, but I cannot for different reasons. First of all, because it would be very nice, but I have limited social skills, and I cannot. And I cannot force my heart to be open to live that sparkle, that getting in love, that does not depend on me. So I can treat everybody, I can serve everybody, I can spend time with all the people in my center. But if I am not a friend of every one of them, I won't be worried, I won't feel I have a problem. I will be a brother of all of them. I will go to the doctor with them, I will go for a walk with them, I will take them the food if they are in bed or they are confined because of COVID, but I won't get worried. I won't feel as if I have a problem. What about women? Okay, I'm sorry, but I cannot speak about that. I will only say that if we are people in the middle of the world, if we are like other people, it is not unreasonable for people to have women friends. I think it cannot be strange to have some, in this continuum, to have some friendship with women. But, and we will speak about that a little later if we have time, it is very easy, and C.S. Lewis says this in The Four Loves, that from an intense friendship between men and women, that you feel a second sparkle. The first one is friendship. The second one is eros. So in the same way that treating people in family can be born a friendship, in a friendship between men and women can be born eros, a marital love. So can I be a friend of a woman? Well, yes. And I couldn't say that be cautious. I would say better, look inside you. Look at your heart. What are you looking in that relationship? Are you looking to share things? Are you looking to feel better? Are you looking to feel loved? Not from a philia, but from a eros point of view. Do you feel that feminine kind of love makes you feel better? So be cautious, because perhaps that philia is getting erotized. Okay. And then another said the great question that probably many of you are asking yourselves. Are you promoting particular friendships between people in the work? And I would answer depending on what particular friendship means. Particular friendships, first of all, is a Jesuit concept. It was developed by Saint Ignatius from Loyola. But then when I say this, many people in the world say, okay, stop. So I don't like so much speaking about particular friendship. But a century later, Santa Teresa of Jesus spoke also a lot about particular friendship. And she said they are very dangerous for a community. She was speaking mainly about her community of nuns. And she said it is still more dangerous with women. So priests who are listening to me, it will speak about these topics with numeraries, with our sisters, speak about they have to be friends one another, but they have to be especially cautious. Here is a long quotation. She says that it causes very notorious damage to the community, because they don't love everyone so much, because they get offended when the friend is offended, because they decide to have something to give them from material, from a time and so on, seeking time to talk to her, and many times, that's the time point, telling her how much she loves her instead of saying how much she loves God. That's the problem. Okay, particular friends are not something that Pope Francis has told in some occasion. He said that when he was in the novitiate, in his Jesuit novitiate, he couldn't play football because he didn't like sport, and then he has been operated, as we know, of a lung. So he had to be next to the football field, watching the other people to play, and then meanwhile he was reading or something similar, till he knew another Jesuit that couldn't play, and then they were together and they spent time speaking, and they had some intellectual affinity, and they felt very good one with the other, till the moment in which the formator tell them, what are you doing, both of you here together? This is a particular friendship, so you have to get far one from the other. So the other Jesuit had to go to the other part of the football field. And then they were two islands watching the other people to play together, because they couldn't speak one to the other. You remember, to share their intimacy to the other. And Pope Francis, when he spoke about this issue in his life, he said, I felt in that moment very alone, because it was really a healthy friendship. We were sharing a lot of things that helped us to grow. So when he had to leave for obedience, so they cannot argue with the formator, I feel very alone, and it damaged me till the point that 40 years after, when he was the Pope, he still remembered it. So don't separate people who have that affinity unless they really have an affinity that is damaging them. Because particular friendship really exists. What is a particular friendship? It is a closed and exclusive relationship in which no other one can enter. It is when I am going for a walk, for an excursion, to take a beer, and some other one asks, can I go with you? And perhaps the other one is a little boring, or we won't be able to speak about our things because we cannot open our intimacy with that third person. But if I close myself and I don't admit the other, mainly if he is a brother of me, even if he's not a friend, then I am damaging me, I am damaging the third one, that brother of me, and in some way I can be looking myself in my friendship, or at least I am sacrificing other things that are also very important because of my friendship, and that is not a good thing. Another characteristic of a particular friendship is that it is critical. Friends that share critics to directors, to the world, that if the only thing that you have to share with your friend is critics, then you have to revise your friendship, okay? When it leads to omissions, to other obligations that are also important. I am going to be with the friends. Okay, and who is going to speak, to give the cycle? Or no, I want to be in the annual course with that one who is the one with which I am going to enjoy because he's my friend. Okay, but you cannot go together because then an important part of the center is not going to be covered. So when I sacrifice important things for friendship, perhaps that friendship is getting a little disordered. When there is no alterity, when there is invasion to the other people, to the other person, to the friend, when I let myself to be invited, when I don't respect that intimacy that the other person doesn't want to share with me. Or when there is zealous, and it is very typical of adolescent people that they want to have the other one only for them. And if the friend goes with other people to a party, to an activity, and you have gone with them, you weren't with me. So I guess hurt and damage and serious and so on. So clearly it is an unhealthy friendship. When it gets erotized, not only men, women, but even men. Because when a friendship has those characteristics that we have spoken before, it can also, in some people who are predisposed and so on, it can develop in an erotized friendship even between people of the same sex. Then I finish with some ideas how to encourage brotherhood, how to encourage fraternity. We have said that we cannot, unfortunately, we cannot be friends of all the people because of our own limitations. So what can I do? Don't worry, foster fraternity and encourage fraternity, which means promoting no institutional interaction. We are very done in our centers to have to be together in the get-together and in the meals. And then get-together finishes or rosary finish and no people in the corridors because we have to work so much, because we have to do so many activities and so on. And sometimes the family life suffers because of that. What would you think about a family of a supernumerary of your brothers who are married, and you go to the house and only silence? And where are the kids? No, they are in the room without making noise because we are very busy in this house. But it is a family. There is only silence, and then we appear to the get together or to the dining room, and then we still disappear. This is a family, not so much. So promote no institutional interaction so as to people can speak only freely. And it is not losing time, it is investing time in the others. The arrival at home, to have something that with which I can speak about the problems that I have in the work, something that is going to dedicate me some time. It is not good for us to arrive home and see that all the doors are closed. Some of them because we are receiving chats. Some of them because we are giving a misinformation. The other one because the people is preparing a misinformation. But then I arrive home after 10 hours out working, and it means that I live alone. Till it is time for dinner, and then every people is smiling, goes out from their rooms and comes. It's a family, yes, but perhaps it can be lived in a more familiar way. Speaking, blood family, I have been very surprised sometimes speaking like this time when I spoke, okay, you have to share intimacy with the other people, you have to speak in the get-together about things that are important for you. So speak about your family, your family, about your brothers, your parents, and so on. And some people told me, no, we cannot speak in our centers about that. We would receive a fraternal correction if we speak about brothers. No, I think it is not what we have lived ever in the work. I think it is a little corruption that you live in your center. If you don't speak about those things that are so important for you as family blood, then what are you speaking about? About soccer, only about the apostolic work. The get-together is much more of that. It is speaking about what you have in your mind, in your heart. And obviously, you have your blood family in your heart. Then participating in what you don't feel like. I mean, going to the football matches, to the series, get to the films and so on, till you don't like them so much because you are sharing your time with your brothers and you are putting yourself in the occasion of growing in friendship. Otherwise, and now in these times in which we have all a computer and we can be in our rooms closed, watching the series or the film, the movie that I like, but we are not sharing with people. And we are then living alone, lonely, and it is not good for us. We have listened so many times that you have to sacrifice our goodness for the others. And I would say, okay, that's okay, perfect, but enjoy with the others. What do you like? Try and do it with other people in the center. Attention to the outsiders, those people who have strange jobs or autonomous jobs, I mean, that are not sometimes in some centers we have are very close to an apostolical work, no? To a school, university, and so on. And then if some people who lives in that center and he's not, and he works in another job, a doctor, lawyer, and so on, and he arrives, he needs that some people ask him for his job. Otherwise, he can feel that he has like a double life. It is very important for him, his job. When he's outside home, but when he's at home, he has to forget it, because that's the important thing, nobody bothers of it. And then it will help us, I finish with Vietnam veterans, with people who left the work. I have been very surprised when of the good reaction that I have found in so many people who left the work, and after more or less time I have written them, or have called them for Christmas and birthdays and so on, and he said, "Oh, but you still remember me." For sure, we have lived together for a lot of time. We have shared so much things, and we are not sharing so many things, but we have been friends. And the very fact that you left the work does not mean that I have to close completely the relationship with you. We do not share anymore a very important thing, but we can share still many other things that have united us for a long time. And then the beautiful thing, the nice thing, is that they said, "I see that you didn't like me as a member of the job, of the work, as your spiritual directee and so on. You liked me as a person. And then I see that perhaps I was more appreciated in the work than I thought." And sometimes it has been a thing that helped them to come closer to the work. So I finish. I apologize because as usual, I have gone longer than I was supposed to go. So I'm going to answer some questions more or less quickly. Fraternity cannot be lived well without friendship among brothers. I apologize, but I think it is exactly the opposite. Friendship between brothers is founded in fraternity. First, in fraternity. When I go to a center, I don't know, you are 20 years in no, you are all friends. No, you're all brothers. We are going to buy friendship, to build friendship. Otherwise, if I say, we are all friends, we are not friends. We don't know each other. We have to know each other, and then friendship can be born or not, in my opinion. Okay. Okay, let's go a little quick. How do you make friends with someone or a brother of yours who always second guesses your actions? As a result, he always has grudges against you without you knowing what it is. He also never brings up these issues with you and bears them within. As a result, one are always left in limbo. I would say, don't worry. We are so many different. You are so different, and it is not a bad thing. Don't worry if you don't like him. Even if you weren't brothers, you would be absolutely distant from the other one. Okay, but you are brothers. So go to him for a walk, do services to him, love him as a friend. Perhaps you will feel that the spark comes, perhaps not. Okay, you will die as brothers. And being brothers is a very, very nice thing. I usually say that when I arrive home, and I have been working in the university, and perhaps I have been out of the house for 12 hours, and I get home, I don't want to be with friends. I want to be in my family, with my brothers. And it is different. Because family, well, we might go back to those slides about the different characteristics, but I think we have to foster fraternity and finding how good fraternity is. When one notices perhaps a brother of yours has been dealing with club boys and rarely with the parents of the boys, and you notice that it is somehow affects his relationship with others generally, how can this person be helped, especially if he's already advanced in age? Well, we have spoken a little bit about that. This person must be helped to complicate his life, because if he is only with younger people, perhaps he's hiding his difficulties to have to be himself, to act as what he is. And he's an old people, and he cannot be infantilized by treating with other people. He would perhaps have to do some effort with kids, with boys. You don't have to have an effort to be appreciated, to be accepted, and so on. You are a leader. You are considered. With the people in your age, you have to do that extra effort, but it will be more helpful for you to grow a mature personality. Instead, if your best friends are younger than you, they will probably take you down from your maturity. Okay, let's go. I apologize, I have to go so quickly. When someone who is a bit withdrawn and typically has only a few friends gets in contact in the work, the person is often encouraged to make more friends, especially if the person whistles, okay? This can cause a problem where the person tries to make friends because he has to do apostolate. We have spoken about that, but real, he has to have friends because it is a human normal thing. And he doesn't have friends, he's not a normal guy. And so can be a difficult for being a library, but not because he doesn't do apostolate, but because he has a human deficit that should be cured before getting inside the work. So how can this person be helped to have two friends, especially because he finds it difficult spending time with them and sharing his intimacy? He has to be so firm in his vocation that he can speak about what he does, what he enjoys, and so on, how his vocation or his Christian life helps him. If he doesn't, it will be very difficult for him to do the real apostolate that we do in the work. He can be a professional of the means of formation, but it will be very difficult for him to live the apostolate of friendship and confidence. So it is better for him to solve that by treating people, by developing social skills. If he needs, he can read things that famous book from Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influencing People, and so many things that now are written, very divulgative and very useful, so as to develop those social skills, and not to limit his apostolate to only a few people, bearing in mind that ours is an apostolate of friendship. Yes, that's important. Having friends even if they don't come to the means of formation. For having friends that come to the means of formation, you have to enlarge your land of friendship. Knowing that time is limited, so we have also to choose who spend time with. But as I say, not closing ourselves to treat only people who comes to the means of formation. Okay, work is a means, not an end, I imagine. Can you reconcile it with using works, a tool for apostolate that you said isn't proper? Please clarify. It may have gotten you wrong. Okay, work is a means. Okay, I am sure about that. Using work as a tool to apostolate, I mean that work has its own nature, its own rule. And I think that work has its value by itself because it helps me to develop my personality, to earn money, to contribute to the good for society, for serving the people who are the public of my work. So if I only see my work, and it is what I mean, if I only see my work as a means for doing apostolate, I risk to forget other perspectives of my work that are not only important, but belongs to the very nature of the job. So that job can be denaturalized, and perhaps it would even influence negatively to the apostolate. But surely it would influence negatively in that my personality would not develop so much with the virtues that are needed for doing the job, for doing that work. That obviously is not the goal of my life, is not the end of my life, but it has its very rules. Okay, suggested translation note. In English, amistad particular is a special, personal, extraordinary, intimate. Okay, something more, particular. Okay, perfect. Exclusive, good to go. Okay, perfect. So, maybe I constantly insinuate exclusivity, but he's okay. Some more questions. How do you reignite friendship, fraternity with your brother who have heard you badly say someone who heard you chat before, or someone who trusted and opened up to you? Well, in that case, when there is when a friendship or even brotherhood have been frustrated, I think that we have to learn also to forget. And it is something similar to what we find in families. We need also to learn to forget and to give people the opportunity of having a second opportunity, not to be so exigent with the people in that if he has been wrong for an advice or for any other thing, even if I have felt humiliated or frustrated, or not to let those hearts to decrease in definitive the supernatural link that we have with our brothers, because if we keep hard, if we don't really forget the people, it is for us that could be a pity, because we will be bleeding for all our lives. I think that every one of us can fail, but we deserve a second opportunity. And also it is important for us not to confound forget and forgive. Sometimes people come to me and say, I have resentment. Why? Because some people hurted me and I still remember. Okay, but have you forgiven that person from the deepest of your heart? Yes, but I still remember, it comes to my mind. Okay, but don't worry. you have forgotten. You have not the control of your thoughts, of your memory. So live with that person, try and speak with that, not refuse the treat with that person. And then you will see that perhaps that sparkle, that feeling of sympathy, of being well with him, perhaps it can be renewed. Okay, I think all of the questions have been responded. If someone have more questions, he can contact me directly. I will be happy to respond more questions. Well, I only have to thank you for your attention. I apologize for getting a little longer than I was thought to do. Well, thanks for the invitation and for these sessions and for your interesting questions. Thanks a lot and have a nice weekend and a nice